Imagine being promised a land of opportunity only to have it turn into a place of uncertainty and fear. Many Germans migrated to Russia under Catherine the Great's rule and promises, but after her death, their safety was threatened, leading many to seek new home in the American Midwest. My three main points I'm going to be discussing today are Catherine the Great's invitation to the Germans to settle in Russia and on the promises of prosperity. After her death, these communities faced hardships and persecution. And the third point is many Germans left Russia for the Midwest where they found new opportunities. Catherine the Great's promise to Germans. Catherine the Great, a German-born ruler of Russia, issued a manifesto in 1763 inviting Germans to settle in Russia. She aimed to develop agriculture and strengthen the Russian economy. This is from Kluckhohn. Her promises included religious freedom, exemption from military service, and fertile land for farming. These privileges attracted thousands of Germans to settle along the Volga River and in Ukraine, from Barrett's 12. These were later come to be known as Volga Germans. As a result, German communities flourished, maintaining their traditions and languages for over a century. These promises led to a period of prosperity, but after Catherine the Great's death, the situation changed drastically. The hardships for Germans in Russia after Catherine's death. Catherine's successor, Tsar Paul I, and later rulers began revoking the privileges given to Germans. The special status granted by Catherine's manifesto was quickly eroded under Alexander II. Military conscription was enforced, and Germans faced discrimination and land restrictions. The Russians began to think of the Germans as other and began to retaliate against them. Many young men were forced into long years of military service, leading to unrest in the German communities. And these German communities stuck to themselves and didn't really go outside of the communities that they had formed. One reason I know this is because my family were in these groups of Germans, and my grandfather spoke of how his father, my great-grandfather, told him that they never married or left their communities. They just stayed inside their communities, and that created more animosity. Russian nationalism grew, making life increasingly difficult for ethnic Germans, and then that led to the anti-German sentiment, and they forced Russianification policies onto the Germans, and they wanted the German communities to leave their own culture and language behind and become more Russian-like. With their safety and freedom at risk, many Germans sought a new home, one that offered them stability and opportunity. So, German migration from Russia to the Midwest. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, many Germans left Russia, searching for better opportunities. The Homestead Act of 1862 made land in the American Midwest attractive to immigrants. The Midwest, particularly North and South Dakota, Nebraska, and Kansas, had abundant farmland and religious freedom. Now, many of us here in Kansas, this is our ancestry. It's my ancestry. My family came to Nebraska, even though I live in Kansas now. All my ancestors decided to settle in Nebraska. The regions mirrored the farming style that German Russians were accustomed to in Russia. So that's why the Midwest was so appealing to them, because it was much like the home that they had been living in for a century in Russia, and they knew how to farm the land because it was very, very similar. Those Germans contributed significantly to the agriculture and cultural development of the region. This I don't have a statistic on, but as being told by my own family, and if you just travel around, you would know that most of the farmers, especially in starting from the time that most of these people came in 1876 through 1940s, most of the farmers in those areas were German Russian descent. My family grew sugar beets in Nebraska, as well as beans and corn and wheat. So they contributed quite a bit to the agriculture production in the Nebraska Panhandle. They also established Lutheran and Catholic communities and preserved their traditions through food, language, and festivals. In the church that my mother grew up in, the German Russian ladies would get together once a month and cook our traditional foods: noodles, butter balls, Krautburgers, which Bierox, and many other foods. They would get together, and my grandparents have tried to pass those traditions down to me. In conclusion, the migration of Germans from Russia to the Midwest, shaped by Catherine the Great's initial promises, the hardships that followed her death, and the opportunities that awaited them in America. The resilience of these German Russian immigrants helped shape the Midwest, proving that even in the face of broken promises and hardship, new beginnings are always possible. And their determination is why I'm here today and able to continue that legacy that my ancestors started. Thank you.